Imagine waking up and finding your bank account is worth nothing. The currency you used yesterday is just paper today. It has happened before. It will likely happen again. When a financial system breaks, most people lose everything, but a few people don't. They hold on to assets that don't depend on a government's promise. What actually keeps its value when the world seems to be ending? It's not what you've been told by your local bank manager. Let's look at the first thing that always survives. Gold is the obvious one, isn't it? It's been the ultimate backup for thousands of years. You can find it in ancient ruins, and it still looks exactly the same. It doesn't rust or disappear. Every major central bank in the world keeps it in a vault. Do you ever wonder why they do that? They know that fiat currencies eventually go to zero. Gold is the only thing that hasn't. During the Great Depression, people with gold could still buy bread. During hyperinflation in Germany, it saved entire families from starving. It's heavy, it's physical, and it's limited. You can't just print more gold when the budget gets tight. But there is something even more important than gold in a true crisis. You can't eat gold bars. Land is the second asset on the list. Specifically, land that can produce something. A plot of dirt in the middle of a desert won't help you much. But land with a water source and fertile soil is priceless. In a total collapse, the supply chain stops moving. Grocery stores go empty in less than 3 days. If you own the ground that grows the food, you have power. You have a way to stay alive while others are panicking. Real estate in a city can lose its value overnight if the power goes out. But a farm or a small homestead keeps its core utility. Utility is the key word here. If it provides a basic human need, it will survive. Think about what you use every single day. Now, let's move on to the third asset. This one is often overlooked because it's not a physical object. It's your specific practical skills. If the economy resets, who becomes the most important person in the room? It's not the guy who is good at middle management. It's the person who knows how to fix a broken engine. It's the person who can patch a wound without a hospital. Skills are the only asset that can't be stolen from you. The government can't tax your ability to build a shelter. A thief can't take your knowledge of how to purify water. In a collapse, the economy shifts from paper to trade. You become the currency. Wait, what happens if you don't have those skills yet? You can't just learn them overnight when the power goes out. Most people think they are prepared because they have a 401k. But a 401k is just a digital promise on a screen. The fourth asset on our list is something you can hold in your hand. It's silver. Silver is often called the poor man's gold, but in a real economic collapse, it might be more useful. Gold is too valuable to buy a loaf of bread. Try asking for change for a 1-ounce gold bar. Silver is divisible and easy to trade for daily needs. It has thousands of industrial uses that gold doesn't have. Even if the financial system restarts, industry will still need it. Electronics, solar panels, and medical gear all require silver. It's a dual-purpose asset for survival and recovery. Now, think about the fifth asset on the list. This one is tucked away in your pantry or your garage. It's a stockpile of high-value commodities. In a collapse, the price of everything skyrockets. Salt used to be worth its weight in gold. Ammo, medicine, and fuel become the new global currencies. If you have a year's supply of coffee, you have a massive advantage. People will trade almost anything for a bit of comfort. Imagine being the only person on your block with extra antibiotics. That's not just a supply, it's a form of insurance. But you have to be careful about where you keep it. If everyone knows you have it, you become a target. Privacy is an asset in itself. That leads us to the sixth asset. It's not something you can touch or see. It's a network of trusted people. In a total breakdown, being alone is a death sentence. You need a neighbor who can watch your back. You need a friend who knows how to hunt or garden. Communities that stick together always survive the longest. Look at history's worst famines and wars. The loners were usually the first to go. The people who shared resources and information stayed alive. Do you actually know your neighbors? Most people in the US don't even know their names. In a crisis, that's a huge liability. Trust is a currency that doesn't inflate. It's built over years and spent in seconds. Finally, we have the seventh asset. This is the one that most people forget until it's too late. It's tools and hardware. A quality shovel will outlive any bank account. A hand-cranked well pump is worth more than a Tesla. If the grid goes down, your high-tech gadgets are paperweights. Mechanical tools don't need a software update. A simple hammer can build a shelter for your family. An iron skillet can cook over an open flame for decades. Most modern products are designed to break after a few years. Old-fashioned manual tools are built to last a lifetime. In a collapse, you can't just go to the hardware store for a replacement. The store might be empty or boarded up. If you have the tools, you have the means of production. You can repair what others have to throw away. Think about the people who survived the Great Depression. They didn't have much money, but they had a shed full of gear. They could fix their own roofs and mend their own clothes. Self-reliance is the ultimate insurance policy. But let's get back to the psychological side of this. How do you actually prepare for a total system failure? Most people just ignore the possibility because it's scary. They assume the grocery store will always have food. They assume the ATM will always spit out cash. But history shows us that every empire eventually falls. Every currency in history has eventually failed. The US dollar has lost over 90% of its value since 1913. That's not a conspiracy, it's a mathematical fact. We are currently living through a slow motion collapse. Inflation is just a polite word for your money dying. What happens when that process speeds up? You need to diversify into things that aren't digital. If you can't touch it, you don't truly own it. Cryptocurrency is a popular topic these days. Some people say it's the new gold. But what happens if the internet goes dark? Bitcoin is useless if you can't access a ledger. Physical assets are the only things that don't need a plug. Let's look closer at the land asset again. It's not just about farming, it's about having a place where you belong. In a crisis, millions of people will try to flee the cities. If you already have a spot in the country, you are ahead of the curve. Do you have a way to get there if the highways are blocked? Most people have no backup plan for transportation. Bicycles are an incredible asset that people overlook. They don't need gas, and they are easy to fix. In many war-torn countries, bikes are the primary mode of transport. They allow you to move quietly and quickly. Now, let's talk about the value of medicine. Modern medicine is a miracle, but it's fragile. Most of our drugs are manufactured thousands of miles away. If the ships stop moving, the pharmacies go dry. Do you have a basic first aid kit? Is it enough to last more than a week? True wealth is having what you need when no one else does. It's not about being rich, it's about being resilient. Resilience is the ability to absorb a shock and keep going. Most families are one missed paycheck away from disaster. That's a terrifying place to be. But you can change that starting today. It begins with shifting your mindset away from consumption. We live in a world that wants us to buy things we don't need. In a collapse, those things become trash. Look around your house right now. How much of what you see would actually help you survive? The big screen TV won't provide warmth or food. The designer clothes won't protect you from the elements. Quality boots and a heavy coat are real assets. Let's talk about the value of fuel. Gasoline has a shelf life, usually less than a year. If the pumps stop, the world stops moving in days. Do you have a way to store a small amount safely? Propane is another overlooked asset. It stays good for decades if the tank doesn't rust. It can cook your food and boil your water when the stove dies. Most people think they need a massive bunker. Honestly, you just need a well-stocked pantry and a plan. Knowledge is the fuel that runs every other asset. If you have seeds but don't know how to plant them, they are just rocks. If you have a medical kit but don't know how to use a tourniquet, it's just plastic. The time to learn is while the grocery stores are still full. Go out and practice a skill this weekend. Start a small garden and a few pots on your porch. Learn how to start a fire without a lighter. These sound like hobbyist activities until they aren't. History is full of people who thought, it can't happen here. The citizens of Rome thought their city was eternal. The people of the Soviet Union thought their system was permanent. They were all wrong. Collapses are usually slow at first, then very fast. Bank holidays happen on Monday mornings when you least expect them. Electronic transfers can be frozen with a single keystroke. Physical assets are the only things that don't have an off switch. You need to be your own bank and your own utility company. Think about the seventh asset again, hardware. Specifically, look at fasteners like nails and screws. In a long-term crisis, you can't just print a bolt. Small metal parts become worth their weight in silver. They allow you to maintain your shelter and your tools. Do you have a bucket of mixed hardware in the garage? It might be more valuable than your stock portfolio one day. This isn't about being a doomer or living in fear. It's about being a realist in an unstable world. True peace of mind comes from knowing you can handle a storm. The people who are prepared are the ones who stay calm. The ones who aren't prepared are the ones who cause the chaos. Which person do you want to be when the lights flicker? Let's dive deeper into the concept of trade. Barter is the oldest form of economics. Before we had digital digits, we had the barter system. In a collapse, the price of a gallon of milk isn't $5. It might be 2 silver coins or a box of .22 caliber rounds. Everything becomes a negotiation based on immediate need. Alcohol is a classic example of a barter asset. It doesn't spoil, and it's always in demand during hard times. Even if you don't drink, a few bottles of spirits can buy a lot. The same goes for tobacco or even simple chocolate bars. Luxury items become powerful tools for trade when the world is gray. Have you thought about what you have that others want? Most people only have things that require electricity to work. If you have a manual coffee grinder, you are a king. If you have a way to sharpen knives, you have a business. Let's look at the third asset again, practical skills. Sewing and mending are lost arts in the United States. We usually just throw away a shirt with a hole in it. In a collapse, a needle and thread are survival gear. Being able to repair a pair of work boots is a high-value trade. These aren't just hobbies, they're economic lifelines. Now consider the seventh asset, tools, in a different light. Think about handsaws and axes instead of power drills. When the fuel runs out, manual labor is the only labor. Can you cut firewood for the winter without a chainsaw? Most people would be exhausted in 10 minutes. Physical fitness is actually a hidden asset in this category. If your body can't handle a day of hard work, you are at risk. Your health is the foundation of every other asset you own. In a collapse, there are no ambulances coming to save you. A simple infection can become a life-threatening event. This is why basic hygiene supplies are so critical to stock. Soap and bleach are some of the most important things you can own. They prevent the diseases that kill more people than hunger does. Are you starting to see the pattern here? The assets that survive are the ones that serve the human body. Warmth, water, food, and protection are the only things that matter. Everything else is just a layer of comfort we've grown used to. Let's talk about the sixth asset, your network, one more time. In the US, we are taught to be rugged individuals. But an individual can't stay awake 24 hours a day. You need a rotation of people to keep a watch on your home. You need a group to help harvest a crop or clear a road. Isolation is the biggest threat to your long-term survival. Do you have a bug-out bag ready to go? Most people do, but they have nowhere to actually go to. A bag of gear is useless if you are just wandering the streets. You need a destination with resources already waiting for you. That brings us back to the second asset, productive land. Even a small garden in a backyard is better than nothing. It teaches you the cycle of growth and the reality of pests. Nature doesn't care about the stock market or the Fed. The sun comes up and the rain falls regardless of the GDP. That's why agricultural knowledge is the ultimate safety net. If you can produce calories, you can produce wealth. Wealth isn't a number in a database. It is the capacity to sustain life. Let's review the seventh asset one last time, tools and hardware. Think about manual kitchen tools. A hand-cranked grain mill can turn raw wheat into flour. Without it, those buckets of emergency wheat are just birdseed. Can you cook that flour without a modern oven? A cast iron Dutch oven is an asset that lasts for generations. It can bake bread over a pile of hot coals. These are the things our great-grandparents lived by. They didn't call it prepping. They just called it living. They knew that seasons change and markets fail. They kept a cellar full of jars and a shed full of steel. We have traded that security for the convenience of a smartphone, but convenience is the first thing to go in a crisis. What is left when the convenience is gone? Only the physical things you have secured. Only the skills you have mastered. Only the people you can truly trust. It's a sobering thought, isn't it? But it's also an empowering one. You don't have to wait for collapse to start building these assets. Every silver coin you buy is a hedge against inflation. Every garden bed you dig is a lesson in resilience. Every neighbor you meet is a potential ally. Start small. Buy an extra bag of rice every time you shop. Learn how to use a basic toolkit. Read a book on first aid instead of watching the news. The news is designed to make you feel helpless. Preparation is designed to make you feel capable. Which state of mind would you rather have? History shows us that the survivors aren't always the strongest. They are the ones who are realistic about the risks. They didn't assume the system would save them. They saved themselves. Now, look at your own life through this lens. Which of these 7 assets are you missing? Is it the gold, the land, or the skills? Maybe it's the network or the tools. Whatever it is, you can start acquiring it today. Don't wait for the signs of a collapse to become obvious. By then, the price of these assets will be out of reach. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. Take one small step toward true security this week. Your future self will thank you for it.